Right, Dave, you got it again because I feel like shit.
There you
Then
go,
it get
bud.
us cancelled, we.
I can't promise now. Hello and welcome to another edition of What the Falk podcast with me, Dave Lawrence. Graham, unfortunately, isn't feeling the best in the world. Hasn't particularly got a great voice at the minute. Some might argue never. But here we are, joining me tonight after what should we say? Let's say a frustrating day, to say the very, very least. Who should we go for first? Let's go Bradley. How are we doing, Bradley?
Hi, David. Not too bad, mate. How are you doing? Have a good Christmas?
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all. I would have preferred more than 1 point from the last six available, but here we are. This is the life of being a Sunlun fan, isn't it? And I'm sure we're all used to it by now.
Yeah, a little bit disappointed, aren't we? But one thing that's keeping me happy now is obviously it's just non-stop dart, isn't it? So I can switch off from the football and just
Oh,
lose an absolute shit ton of money watching the hours.
definitely.
And it's
I will
shit
not.
that all three mags left in the World Championships are still through. Oh, man. They'll claim that, won't they? War flags, war dart players.
Oh, there'll definitely be some mention of it somewhere. The one thing I won't miss about Christmas is that ridiculous Sky Sports advert about merry football dartsmith. I will not miss that.
Get in the bin.
But I'd probably rather take that than a 1-0 defeat to Stoke. Also with us, we have the honorary, what should we go with? Bald glasses look. And it's not me, it's Ross. How are we doing, Ross?
Evening, Dave. Echo basically what Brad said there. Bit annoyed, a bit frustrated, but I've calmed down now, and I'm just doing what I've done all Christmas: ate, drank, and done absolutely nothing. So yeah,
And
going
that's
well.
enough summary of the Sunlun football team. I'm glad that you've had a good Christmas as well, mate. And last but certainly not least, we've got the attention to detail guy, and that's Pete. How are we doing, Pete?
I'm not too bad, Dave. How you doing? Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Oh,
same
you had
to
a
you,
good
mate.
Christmas even. Aye. Yeah, look, disappointed about today. It seemed inevitable though at the time, but we'll get to it, I'm sure. But yeah, look, it is disappointing, but it is what it is also. We can't do nothing about it now. We need to just look what we can change.
Exactly. I like to think the one thing we always bring to the table as a podcast is a bit of balance, and I understand everyone's frustrations. I really do. I guess I get to rule the roost a little bit tonight because of Graham being unwell, and I get to preach the fact that I said at the beginning of the season the one thing that will let us down this year will be a lack of depth and a lack of strength in numbers. And I think that is kind of hitting us a little bit. You could argue, I suppose, with the team selection today, Sheesh and Alexic both being given the nod. They've been fringe players all season. Are they the depth that we need? I think it was Ross who mentioned in our little chat earlier on about Leeds bringing on the players that they did for the last 25 minutes. And the comparison between the benches it just shows you the depth. So realistically, should we be disappointed today? Of course we should. Absolutely no doubt about that. However, should we be disappointed at being fourth and still 7 points clear of seventh, if I'm not mistaken, something along them lines? I probably don't think we should be, really. But Ross, what's your take on it, I guess?
Yeah, I did mention that it was me that brought Pirro, Solomon, and Dan James on, which is a night and day. You know what I mean? They'd all start for us every week. Let's be honest. So yeah, today was the first game where we've lost where I thought like I've come away from it going, how have we lost that? Like Plymouth capitulated setting off. Watford, we were terrible. Sheffield United, we just got done by a good team, you know what I mean? And we didn't take our couple of chances there. But it's the first game where I generally thought that, even with the players that we had missing, without Johansson in goal, who, by the way, is absolutely tremendous against us every game. Even when he was at Rotherham, he was outstanding. So, yeah, if Patterson goes, sign him up. But yeah, the finishing just in the final third just wasn't good enough. And when it was on target and it should have been going in, we had a I had a keeper in there who was in unbelievable form, so it just wasn't going in. And then sod's law, they just pick one up 20 yards outside the box after some, let's be honest, crap defending by two players who've been pretty reliable all season. And that's it, game over. And you think to yourself, even with 2 points, you go, well, we didn't get beaten. I mean, we picked up 2 points away going into it. But now you've dropped basically 2 points in the last few minutes at Blackburn. You've dropped a point at Stoke, and then you're going to play Sheffield United with Fredbear's squad, and it's like, let's hope it doesn't all unravel. But I truly believe that once players come back, we're in a healthy position. But until then, unless we strengthen with two to three really good starting players in January, then this is probably where we're at. And it's not a bad thing, and it's a bit frustrating that it could have been better, but this is where we're at.
Yeah, completely. I think we said a couple of weeks ago or a couple of games ago on a review that certainly for me, I felt as though we were a centre forward away from challenging automatically, and I still believe that. It's certainly a couple of positions. I think 2-3 players I think would turn this squad around massively, especially with experienced players. And I do stand by what I've kind of said for a while, really, that we need an experienced centre forward who can do ugly things in certain games, but also will put chances away, will get us a guarantee 15 goals a season, and obviously from the beginning of the season, not the middle of it. Wilson has done perfectly well, but he's looking a little bit isolated. We're putting, we are with Threadbare, you said it, and we're trying to put players in positions to give us a threat, but it also weakens us in certain ways as well. Brad, I'll come to you because I know you've got your opinion on Eliza, and that's absolutely fine. I think I've said that he's got 50% chance of making it just based on the fact that he's an athlete. I defended him a bit last week, not because of his age, but maybe through a lack of experience, and also having played out wide, that chance coming to him last week against Blackburn, which I still stand by the opinion that we shouldn't have conceded a 2-1. So therefore that chance should be irrelevant. We've obviously conceded late again today, but I can't excuse him today, unfortunately. I can't agree with people that he should be scoring, but the one thing that I will not shy away from is he has to be hitting the target. He absolutely has to be hitting the target. And I'm sure you'll share my frustration, but what's your thoughts on strengthening and my ender and things like that going forward, I guess, at the minute?
Sort of all leads into one. Like when you've said about the strength in depth, for me, it is frustrating more than anything, because I would argue, and I'll die on the hill arguing it, our first 11 is better than any other first 11 in this league, and that's shown when we've had it. We were sat top and sat clear for 3/4 of the season that we've had so far. The depth thing, look, he knew he was going to have to get to January. What's frustrated me is he had the likes of Alexic and Aushish all along from the start of the season. And when we've played the likes of Derby and Oxford at home and it's been so comfortable, why is he not throwing them on for 20 minutes and got them this experience? And then, but it seems like we've had to use them. And I thought Aushish done well. I thought realistically, if you look at the whole team today, I thought he was probably one of our better players, and easily in the top 3. He was making things happen. He made the chance for Eliza Mayenda. He put it on his head, central a goal. And I get what Graham was saying the other day on the podcast and yourself about his age, his inexperience. When I look at a player, I can see if they've got something about them, if I think they're going to at least make it, or if I don't know, would a loan help? We went on loan and couldn't get in Hibs' team last year, and then if I look at him this season, he missed the sitter against Cardiff on the opening day. There was that chance against Blackburn the other day. That header today, which is a mirror image of the header he missed against Stoke on the reverse fixture at our place. It was central of the goal, and he's put it wide. I don't know. Do we have the time with the promotion push, which we're hoping? Do we have time to say, like, we need to give these players the time and the chances and the experience of getting better? Well, for me, that's what the loan system's there for. If we can add strength, he doesn't get in our strongest 11, in my opinion. He doesn't. And if we add 1 or 2 players who are ready for the here and now, he doesn't get in and then his development's going to go back over. So is it worth maybe saying to him, you've got a couple more games, but likelihood is you're going to have to go back out on loan. You've been exposed to the Championship, we believe, to get your development ticking along nicely and get you a consistent run of games. Would a loan to League One, rather than going to Scotland, would a loan to League One, lower end Championship would that maybe suit him more than sitting on our bench and be used as a bit part, which when you've got Mundell and Watson back, Rig back, where do you fit him in realistically? And it is a shame because, look, he had Sheffield Wednesday, he was excellent, but I've also said, and I've said in the group, and I've been quite vocal, I think that Sheffield Wednesday game is because we were waiting so long for a striker to do something for us all of last season, and he popped up and scored 2 in a game. We were like, I think a lot of people were maybe blinded by that, but his all-round game, in my opinion, it's not at the levels that we need if we want to sustain a promotion push, and that's not his fault. He just if like Graham said, he might be a Premier League player one day, but if we're going to be going where we want to be now, it doesn't get in my team, and I don't think he develops at the rate we want him to. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of it makes sense, and I totally understand where you're coming from. As we've already established, we don't necessarily fully agree on it, but I do totally respect what you're saying, and I do agree with a part of it. I guess so. The one thing that I want to mention and channel in my inner Graham is mentioning the promotion push, and where there's no doubt that we're involved in it. There's absolutely no doubt that we're involved in it. But remember where we've come from. I'm sure we were told it was a 5-year plan to getting back into the Premier League. We're now 2.5 years into it. I'd say we're well on course, if not a little bit ahead of where we should be at. In terms of that, there is glaringly massive gaps within that squad for me, in terms of personality, in terms of experience, just because of their age. And one thing I wanted to ask you, Peter, was I must admit, I'm forgetting the exact statistic. Ross might back me up here, but I think is that 7 goals in the last silly minutes, 83rd minute onwards this season, which has cost us points. Where do you think that comes from?
Well, Brad's just written in the chat here very helpfully for us, saying it's cost us 10 points, and where would Sunlun be with those 10 points? It's huge, and unfortunately today, based on what came against Blackburn, and it was a similar thing there, you kind of knew that late goal was coming. And I mean, today I was convinced, knew it was going to happen. I do agree with everybody who's saying that there has to be changes made to keep legs fresh, but I don't think that's the only thing. But it's obvious at times where you've got players out on the backside running up against teams that have made 5 substitutions. I don't know how many Stoke made today, but I know it was 5 against Blackburn the other day. It's hugely costly. And what does it come down to? It has to come down to mentality at the end of it, I think, because they're all professional footballers, no matter their age. They all know what they're doing. They all know how to play football, and they've all finished football matches. But they're getting themselves into a position, or at least they've got themselves into a position where they're genuinely being talked about as automatic promotion contenders, if not winners of a championship, when last season, really, the wheels fell off completely. And if it had gone on a bit longer, we would have been relegated. I think it might have got to them a little bit, that it had been so good for so long. Then all these draws started coming, and then the mistakes come in. And I think we've talked about recruitment, and I think losing the likes of Alan Brown on the field has been a big thing for that. He's seen out more games than a lot of these young lads have played. Yeah, I think it comes down to ultimately they've got a problem there, and it's up to Regis and the rest of the squad the rest of the coaches to try and get that out of them until they can get that experience in there that I think they need to shut down games at the end.
I think somebody mentioned on Twitter earlier, it's not up to us to find the answers. Really, it's up to Regis, and that's his job. And I'm sure he'll keep trying and keep. I certainly haven't lost faith in him. That's for sure. I
must add that. Yeah, no, I'm fully. I know I've said it. Oh, he's got to do something. No. I'm fully on side with Regis in the way that he plays football and he sets the side up. Very happy with him. just needs to. That's the big problem, isn't it? It's getting them started. Well, it was getting them started because they were conceding the early goals, and now it's the crucial one is just shut the game down when you're up, or you're getting something.
Definitely, there's little bits of attention to detail. I mean, with us, I'll come on to you in a second, Ross, and ask you about this point. But you look at some of the chances we've hit the woodwork twice today. The amount of chances that we've missed in times, and we're still the 5th highest scorers in the league, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure we've got 36 goals this season, and I can probably count another 15 which we could have had. But again, it keeps rearing its ugly head, and it's really annoying. But I think it is something that needs to be discussed again. Ross, what's your opinions on the refereeing? Because I mean, it's not the greatest standard in the world, but that's bit us in the arse a little bit today. Because I certainly feel as though we should have had 1 penalty, but probably 2, if I'm honest.
Yeah, the Metford one's blatant, and I don't get how he can't give it. He's looking directly at it. I've got no explanation. There's no words for it. He's looking directly at it. He's pulled him straight down, and it's a penalty all day. Obviously, we've got to convert it, and to be fair, the way Johansson was played, he probably would have saved it with his fucking little pinky toe and it would have flew off the crossbar or something, you know what I mean? But at least give us that opportunity, a fair opportunity. The Mayenda one, he's probably too naive, where Gooch is clearly jumping in for the ball. The ball's away, and if Mayenda plays the game a bit, I know it's awful to say because we can't play out all the time, but he gets it. But he shouldn't have to. In the same sense, I think they're both penalties personally. Obviously, I've got me Sunlun tinted specs on, but I think they're both penalties. And I just thought the overall control of the game, the referee for both teams had no control. How Stoke finished with 11 men on the pitch baffled me. The amount of Dan Neil, every time he got the ball, got kicked and fouled consistently by the same player. Yeah, I don't want to sound sour and bitter because the reason we lost today was because we didn't take our chances and they put the ball in the back of the net. But it was definitely a penalty, and we should. And if that goes in, you 1-0 up at half time, then it's a different game. But yeah, it's championship referees, isn't it?
Unfortunately, so to try and get onto the positives for today, I think we haven't necessarily touched on it, but I'm sure everyone who's seen the game, there was a few players who were a little bit flat today. Probably not the type of performance that we were accustomed to from the likes of Luke O'Nien, Dennis Sirkin, perhaps Job, possibly. Maybe he's not at his greatest. A lot of that could be to do with the fact that our starting 11, there was a fair few of them missing, and just 1 or 2 unfamiliar players within that system, I guess. But Brad, is there anyone who stood out for you today who you thought, and I get the feeling I know where you're going to go with this, but yeah, really stood out and thought, yeah, I saw something there which I haven't seen for a while, and yeah, I like what I saw.
There's 2 players really. I touched on him earlier. I thought Adil Aushish. For me, he's done enough today to warrant getting a start against Sheffield United. I'd feel more comfortable with him there and Paddy Roberts on the other side and trying to get at them. That's not to say he's at the same levels as what Mundell's produced for us, Jack Clark or Tommy Watson this season. But what he was doing, what we haven't seen a lot of our wingers do this season, was he was putting balls in the box. I think we had 13, 14 corners. I'd say half of them were half-decent deliveries. The other half, he didn't beat the first man. But then he addressed that and he went short a couple of times, got it back and then whipped one in. And that's where a couple of our chances came, where Metham nearly got on the end of one. So I was really impressed with him. He was busy and he created that chance first half where he's nicked it on the halfway line. He's ran with Wilson and he's hitting the side netting. But that was from him winning the ball back in the centre of the park and joining Wilson in the attack. So, no, really, really impressed with him. But one player I will mention, because I did dig him out a lot in this earlier this season, I'd say since December, Dan Neil's been absolutely out of this world for us. I think he's been phenomenal. I don't know what's happened. It just seems like we've got the Dan Neil back from last season. He seems to be just dominating the midfield. And if he's not being able to do anything with the ball, he's winning fouls. And he's just taking the sting out of it. Like that when they got on top, when they got on top for a little bit in the second half, if Dan Neil was getting on the ball, he was shutting it down. And I thought that was excellent. It's like, I've got my Dan Neil back. Oh, I'm so happy. If you know, you know. So yeah, I'd say Dan was really, really good. A deal, although not at the levels of our previous wingers. I was really happy with him today. Alexis started slow, but I thought as the game grew, he grew. I don't think you really noticed him as much as you would notice when Riggs playing and stuff like that. But what he did do, he done well, and I think that was quite a solid full debut from him. So we know Riggs not going to be back. Does he stay in the team? I'd probably say yes as well. The caveat to that would be, does you bring Connolly in? But again, we only seen 15 minutes from him today. And I don't think he touched the ball, or he maybe touched it once or twice. I just don't think Reggie's fancies him, which is strange because the last time he started for us, he scored against Millwall, and then we haven't seen him since. But yeah, them two for me were really, really good. But on the flip side, players that stood out since his injury, Dennis Serkin, he's forgot how to play football, I think. That would maybe be the only change I make, is I'd bring Adji in for Dennis and maybe make him sit one out, because we know Dennis is an excellent centre half, decent left back, a very good left back. But if you're not at it and you've got someone who's waiting in the wings there to come in your position, that's when you really need to switch it up, isn't it? In my opinion. And yeah, it wasn't a game of standouts. It was just a meh type of game, but one we didn't deserve to lose, but ultimately we have.
As Sunderland fans, we all knew what was happening midweek. We all knew as soon as they sacked the gaffer exactly what was going to happen today. And I'm sure that was Ryan Shawcross's team talk. Stay in the game as long as you can. You'll get a chance. Put it in the back of the net. And honestly, it hurts as a Sunderland fan to lose a game. Of course it does. You've got to remember, that's the second defeat in 17, 18. I know there's a lot of draws in there, but look where we're sitting in the league. It's not a bad place to be. However, I think it does give it even more significance, if that's even remotely possible. But they haven't had the greatest last two results themselves. Peter, going into New Year's Day, what's your thoughts? Sheffield United, 8 o'clock kickoff under the lights. It should be quite a decent game, I would have thought.
Yeah, I'm still a bit deflated from today. I'm still trying to get myself sorted out for that one. But yeah, look, if we'd gotten something from this, I think going into that, I would have been saying, right, it's challenging for those top two. Right now, it's an important game that Sunderland need to win to correct the ship. I'd originally set the Burnley game as like the target for, can we go in my own head of, can we go and push on for top two, or is it the playoffs? I think I'm already reverting that to we just need to keep winning, stay in the playoffs, and then we'll see where we're at later on in the season. But this one against Sheffield United, they've got a lot of players missing. I mean, there's not a team in this league that I don't think Sunderland can beat on the day, and that's one of the beautiful things about the Championship. But what Brad said about team selection going into it from our side, I'd agree with. I think I think Lisa Mayenda needs to sit one out. I think today was his chance to get redemption after the other day, and yeah, rotate him out, keep Sheesh in there. I thought he did everything grand. I'd give Alexei another go. He's made his debut, let him make his home debut. And yeah, Dennis Serkin isn't where it needs to be. And when you've got a player of that quality that Adji Elise has, and you need to switch him out and put him in. Dennis Serkin on his day is the best left back in this league. But he's not on his day at the moment, and he probably needs to have a little think about why that is. So put Adji Elise in, more than adequate replacement. I think everybody else stays the same, and I'd fancy our chances at home. I always fancy Sunderland's chances. So yeah, I'm hoping Regis is going to turn it around, and it's going to be a nice, comfortable 2-0 win, but it's probably going to be absolutely the opposite and something horrific where we're hanging on by our fingernails till the very end. But that's Sunderland, isn't it?
It's probably not the right time to be asking you how you're feeling, as though your 100 goals and 100 points is going to go for the rest of the season. But
no, I'm putting it on hiatus, partly because of today and partly because I drove all the way from Amsterdam to Berlin yesterday, and I'm still not 100% over that.
But yeah, I think the one thing I wanted to come across today, and hopefully anyone who's listening does pick up on that from all four of us, really, is the balance thing. I am frustrated. I am devastated that we got beat to Stoke. Stoke were there for the taking. We have had the chances. we've hit the woodwork. We've had some bad refereeing, all the hard luck stories under the world. But for me, the one that's frustrating more than anything is the Blackburn game. We've getting ourselves from a 1-0 scoreline to be 2-1 up. There's 5 minutes left, and we just we don't become what those experienced players would give you, masters of the dark art, kind of holding the ball in the corner. We're a little bit naive. I think today the reaction for the penalty, like there's not enough uproar from us. We're a little bit timid. We're a little bit shy. We're a little bit, yeah. And I just think a couple of big characters in January would help us out. Yeah, I open the floor to you guys. I mean, Ross, what are you thinking on that? Do you think we are a little bit naive? Do you think we are a little bit soft-centered?
Maybe, but we weren't when we had a fully fit squad. I think that's got to be caveated in. Like, even the game against Stoke at home, I had Watson, we had Rig, we had Ballard, all in that team who weren't there today. Like, they're three massive players. You add into that Brown's missing, Mundell, and then Roberts didn't start today because he couldn't. He was supposedly had a tight hamstring, so he wasn't fully fit to start. You take any of them six quality players out of a squad in the championship, they're going to suffer. Um, so I think it's worth caveating how unlucky we have been with that injuries wise. We signed a player, Samed, to play the holding midfield position because we needed a holding midfielder, and he still hasn't kicked the ball, and we're going into January. He's meant to be training next week, every week, and I don't know if he's made a training pitch yet. Samed next week. That's his nickname. Next week. But yeah, it's one of them where it's glaring obvious. We need a number 9, we need another centre midfielder, and we need another winger. And because to be fair, one about conceding these late goals, and I know 09 was poor for not clearing these lines, and Mephin probably didn't come self in glory for that. But it's all about the control of the game. If you've got somebody sitting in front in the 6, just controlling that game and not leaving it to Job and Neil like we have for the rest of the season, then it does make a massive difference. And I feel like we've got enough players, all right, certain off form, but then we've got Alessi to come in. You know what I mean? Ballard's going to come back at centre half. We have got options, but that's centre midfield. We're down to bare bones. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, at the start of the season, when everyone's fit, is not even getting on the bench. Now we're saying, yeah, he should probably start. And that's nothing against how she played well today. But I think it's worth like reminding that if Watson's fit and if Mundell's fit, he's probably not even on the bench. So that's kind of where my head is. That 2 to 3 players to help us out, but we've just got to get players back fit as quick as we can because that's what's killing us. Top and bottom of it at the minute. Brad?
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree, mate. I was going to give the last word to Brad. Pretty dangerous from me, but the one.
Let's go.
I'll start you off on the point, but the one thing that I want to remind everyone is how short and how long a period of time in football is. If everyone remembers rightly, a couple of weeks ago, everyone was calling for Patrick Roberts' head and telling us that he was done his sell-by date and whatever. I tell you what, there was definitely a majority grown in our WhatsApp group when we realised that he wasn't playing and he wasn't fit enough to start today. It's amazing what a couple of games does, isn't it? Because 3 games ago, nobody was particularly a fan of Patrick. And I think that just says everything what it needs to be said about football in general. We've gotten beat to Stoke today, but if we go and beat Sheffield United, we'll soon all forget about it, that's for sure. What's your thoughts, Brad?
Yeah, with Patrick, as I think I said it was at the opening 5 minutes in the WhatsApp, we are a better team with Patrick Roberts in the side. There's been 2 games, maybe two that stand out to me was today in Preston, where he didn't start. He just offers us something else. If anything, the opposition, knowing Patrick Roberts on the pitch, it takes two of their defenders out because they're terrified of him getting the ball. But he's I mean, like you say, he's been getting pelters this season, and you look at his stats for the whole season. He's the highest on chance creation, and he's got the most goal contributions, or joint most with Job, I think. So that's speaks everything that you need to say, really. Should he score more than he has done? Absolutely. But if he bangs in goals like we know he's capable of and does it on a consistent basis, he's still at Manchester City. They don't sign Riyad Mahrez. Originally, they keep Patrick Roberts. There's a reason why he's had to drop down a couple of levels. He's been sent here, there, and everywhere. He is the most naturally talented player in that team, and we have a better team with him in it. I can't. One thing I can't understand is if you say he's got a tight hamstring, you put him on the bench and bring him on anyway. If your muscles are tight, you don't risk it, especially with a hamstring. I can't understand that. I think I'm unconfirmed, but in my opinion, I think they've just wanted to give him a rest. And if they just came out and said it was just a rest, fine, absolutely fine. It's 3 games in a week. But yeah, if Roberts is available to play, you play him, in my opinion. And if he's not at it on that game, or doesn't produce the numbers in the final third, we are still a better team. And if anything, he occupies defenders and it creates gaps. And you've seen that from a couple of the assists he's had in a couple of weeks, and some of the goals where it came from maybe not Roberts, but it came from the right hand side, where it's left a little gap, and Job's burst into it, or Isador's burst into it because we've dragged their other centre half out towards Roberts as well. And he's just a clever footballer. I'm a big Paddy Roberts fan, and I'm glad. I am really, really happy for him that he has found a bit of form and the heat came off him a little bit.
Very quick one because we haven't got long left. Let's have a score prediction. So we'll go. This is for New Year's Day. Brad, very quick, just a score. Off you go.
2-1, Roberts with both of them.
Oh, Roscoe.
1-0. 09 last minute.
Oh, love that. And Peter, the final word, because it makes more sense to give you the final word, I'm sure.
I don't know about that. I don't know about making sense. 2-0. I said it already, but I'm going for Wilson. And do you know what? Paddy Roberts. Why not?
Love it. Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully Graham's feeling better for New Year's Day night. But it's been a pleasure as always, and onwards and upwards. Thanks, boys.
Happy New Year, lads.
All the best.
Happy New Year.
All the best, Jeds.
Do we just leave now and then Graham just comes back to no one there?
Yeah, I would have thought so, mate. He'd be.
Or does he have to stop recording or what?
He does, yeah.
Graham!
Graham!
Jay!
Falky!
We are the voices in your laptop. Aldo, come and turn us off.
I've just messaged him. God knows if he's got his phone on.
Oh, it also, he needs to know that this is all still recording, so he can't just put this out as one thing.
I need to go and tidy my living room.
This is the tidiest room in our house at the minute after unpacking the car.
Love it. Good old Christmas.
I've just realised this has been on a bit longer. Has he paid for premium?
Ooh, maybe he treat us for Christmas, like.
Oh, imagine if that's getting Zoom.
Merry Christmas, one and all.
Oh, here he is.
Oh, here he is. Oh, there he is, Magic Mike.
He's on mute, the tit.
Yeah.
What's happened?
You might want to listen to the last 3 minutes.
Yeah, you probably need to edit the last bits out because we've been recording and we were talking nonsense.
It's what he's normally do. Same with every night. He's finished.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I'll edit.
Yeah, there shouldn't be too much.
You feel better, mate?
There won't be any editing.
Do you know what's funny? This never happens anymore, right?
God, I was wondering where I was glad.
Oh God.